Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. According to recent reports, Ole Gunnar Solsjaker would consider resigning as Manchester United manager if our bad run of form does continue to persist, because obviously we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades, and like I mentioned, we are 8 games into the Premier League season. We've only won 2 games, we've drawn 3, and we've lost 3. So in that aspect, we've only registered 9 points from 8 league games, and we know obviously that's nowhere near good enough, to our standards and that. So obviously now we have got to start getting wins under our belt, because you can quite frankly say at the moment we are facing a relegation battle, because we are just sitting 2 points above the relegation, and certain Manchester United fans fear that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could end up getting the club relegated if he is to remain in the job at Manchester United for this season. But reportedly, if this bad run of form does continue to persist, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will obviously reportedly resign from the football club, instead of course of getting sacked, because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer anywhere is under a serious pressure at the football club. It's not assured if we do lose to Liverpool tomorrow that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked as Manchester United manager. There was reports the other week saying that if we were to suffer a heavy defeat to Liverpool, that would be enough to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But I think it's actually a Norwich game, so if we are to lose to Norwich at the end of the month, that could be enough to sack Solskjaer. Obviously, it's already been revealed how much it will cost the football club to sack Solskjaer, and reportedly we will have to pay around £7 million in compensation, which is around half than what we paid to get rid of Jose Mourinho, because I think we paid around £19 or £20 million to get rid of Jose Mourinho. But basically, everything needs to improve at Manchester United. Our home form needs to improve, our away form needs to improve, because we haven't won away from home, since the PSG game last season. So I think it's now 11 away games Solskjaer has had without a win at Manchester United. Also, a lot of players do need to step up to the plate, because, a lot of them have been poor this season, and a lot of the players, do need a reality check. The style of player also, does need to improve. But obviously, the vast majority of Manchester United fans are demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out of the football club, and I don't think he's the right man, to elevate Manchester United forward. Like I mentioned, my element of concerns I've got about him that, he hasn't got any intuition on how to manage a big football club like Manchester United. His pedigree, in my opinion, now isn't good enough. You're still getting certain Manchester United fans, not many though, that are saying, we should still back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We should, give him at least a couple more windows, to see who else, he can recommend into the football club. Solskjaer is actually already making plans for January. He's already making plans for January, and I think if he is to be at the football club by January, he has assured that he will get given some money to spend. I do believe we'll probably do the vast majority of our transfer business next summer, and we'll look to probably bring 1 or 2 players in January. But you can still quite frankly say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United team, because obviously analysing the majority of this team, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Actually, the majority of this team is Jose Mourinho's, because taking into account, Jose Mourinho did recommend 11 players to the football club, and obviously now Solskjaer is inheriting the vast majority of them. But I think, he will be definitely gone by Christmas, in my opinion. So he actually, could resign instead of being sacked, could Solskjaer. And, Solskjaer, recently came out and he thinks, he's the right man for Manchester United. He actually, says that he's never felt like, the job's been too big for him at the football club. But obviously, he's just demanding more time at the football club, is Solskjaer. But the problem is now, in this generation, managers, don't get the time, that they would like. Because back in the old generation, managers, got the time, that they would like. But like I mentioned, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's been here for around 10 months now overall. So obviously he's been permanent manager for around 7 months. So obviously he's enjoyed a difficult 7-month tenure with the football club. He has been here overall, like I said, for nearly a year. But when, it's all gone wrong, since Solskjaer's got the job permanently. And obviously that's made me, changed my perception on Solskjaer and that, because obviously, whilst he was the interim manager, in that 3-month period, because we did really, really well in that, I thought, he was the right man, for Manchester United. In that 3-month period, we won 14 games out of 19, Solskjaer and that, won his first 8 games, and, he exceeded expectations in that 3-month period, and obviously, since he's got the job permanently, we do know, obviously, it's all gone wrong. Don't forget, Solskjaer does have a 3-year contract with Manchester United. He has a 3-year contract with Man United, but I think the only reason that the board are sticking with Solskjaer at this present time is because obviously he was a club legend. Obviously he was a great long-serving player for Man United. He served 11 years at the football club, and he flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. And you can say obviously Alex Ferguson did transform him into a winner. I just don't think his philosophy is right for this football club. Solskjaer did reveal earlier on this summer that he's following Alex Ferguson's philosophy, but like I mentioned, Man United have done quite a lot of mistakes in that, but I think we definitely made a big mistake, giving Solskjaer the job. We shouldn't ever give him the job, to be quite honest with you. We should have waited until the end of last season, or we should have waited at some point until this season to make a decision, and not whether he can get the job. But in a way, I do feel sorry for him, like I do keep mentioning, because Manchester United have put him in a very, very difficult position. But if he's to be sacked, Solskjaer obviously will be the 4th manager to be sacked since the Alex Ferguson era, because obviously we've already sacked 3 managers already. Even though I mentioned that we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers, Solskjaer for me won't last much longer at Manchester United. But he's accountable, for our bad run of performances, and results. But I think also, some of the blame does stem. Some of the blame does stem from Ed Woodward as well. I think a lot of the blame stems from a lot of players. But like I do keep mentioning, I think the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, because like I mentioned, the board didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough during the summer. As they did actually Shaw. The board, in my opinion, have been a liability, for several years, with their poor recruitment and their poor selection of managers. And, there's certain Man United fans that are demanding for this current board to go, and they're demanding a new board, to currently come in. But for me, the board do need to assure structural changes at the football club, and, whether they can do this or not, I do not know. But I think, the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board. But everyone, needs to take responsibility without a shadow of a doubt. But, these certain aspects of me, that do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. He's got a lot of trust with him and his young upcoming players. Obviously, he did recommend 3 good players to the squad during the summer. Obviously, we spent nearly around £150 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and on Harry Maguire. And we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. And, they have, done really, really well. They've enjoyed fantastic starts to their Manchester United career. So it was good throughout the course of the summer, that we did address some of the problematic areas in that. But, we didn't address all the problematic areas, which was obviously a shame. It was good that we got the experienced centre-half in, and that right-back in. But for me, we've got to, get a midfielder in. We're missing that creative impetus in midfield. We definitely need a striker. We need someone that can assure us goals. We haven't even scored enough goals this season. We've only managed 9 goals in 8 Premier League games. So in every game we've scored in this season, we've failed to score more than 1 goal. Prior to the Chelsea game, because obviously we beat Chelsea 4-0 on the opening day of the Premier League season. So I think we need fluidity in that attacking line, and we need someone that can be effective in the box. So yes, we do need an adequate replacement for Romelu Lukaku and that, because I think we look so exposed in that attacking line, following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez. Obviously, Martial's been injured for for large periods so far. He's close to regaining full fitness though. Rashford was injured, not too long ago. So yeah, there's still, deficiencies definitely in the squad that do need to be addressed. And like I recently mentioned, I think we need at least 5 to 6 more signings, maybe even more, if we are to be back, to being a competitive elite level football club. And reports were indicating out the other week saying that, Man United are prepared to back Solskjaer with 8 new signings over the course of the next 2 summers. Obviously, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still to be at Manchester United, which obviously, I doubt, very much, to be quite honest with you. But Solskjaer is making plans for January, like I mentioned. I think he's keen on sticking to the policy of recruiting young British players, like obviously he did do throughout the course of the summer and that. But I've been pointed out at the start of the summer that maybe the club, should orchestrate on being sensible with our recruitment and that. It's not always about, spending big on players and getting them Glasgow players, like we've done in the last 6 or 7 years. But our recruitment's been very, very poor for several years. So like I mentioned, our recruitment policy is poor. I think the depth in the squad is basically, not good enough. Some people think we need more than 2 central midfielders and an attacker. Some people believe we need a left back as well. But yeah, these still problematic areas in the squad. And despite the fact that a lot of players, have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe there's definitely, more players there that do need to leave the football club. And like I mentioned, Italy's been a very, very popular destination for the vast majority of our players that have left this summer. But there's still more problematic players at the football club that needs to be moved on in January and next summer. In my opinion, probably another 3 or 4 more players need to go at least. And yes, we do need a massive rebuild and that. But yeah, like I mentioned, Solskjaer, will not last at Man United. I want his, tenure to become successful at Manchester United, but I just obviously know that it's not going to happen. And obviously before, Solskjaer came at Man United, obviously, he was at Mould, he won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould. Before he was at Mould, he had a really, really short tenure with Cardiff. He began his managerial career with Cardiff and he only managed around 30 games for them. He actually ended up getting Cardiff relegated, and some Man United fans fear that he could replicate at Manchester United what he did with Cardiff. Certain fans think he could get us relegated. Like I mentioned, I don't think the club will get relegated. It's too big, too much money into the club and that. But, I knew, like I mentioned at the start of this season and that, and I said it at the, towards the back end of last season, and I said it at the end of last season that, we did no Man United fan, including me, and that, didn't expect any title challenge this season because I said, our squad's not good enough to win the league or mount any kind of title challenge up. But obviously, we didn't expect us, to be in this position, than winning now. I said, Solskjaer, he's aware of his expectations. He has to exceed at the football club if he is to last. And I said our expectations this season will be to get back into that top 4. So in that aspect, we can get back into the Champions League. And obviously, last season we failed to qualify for the Champions League. And I think that was one of the main factor reasons that went against us during the course of the summer. Because obviously, if you're not in Champions League football, then it's going to be, very, very hard to attract players to the elite level. And I've already disregarded top 4, even though it is early on in the season. I've disregarded top 4, and I think if things do continue to persist the way they are, I think we could struggle, to finish in the top 7 or top 8 this season. To be quite honest with you, like I did say as well. I think the lowest we've finished, of what I know anywhere, since the Ferguson era, I think it's 7th. Because I think, when we had David Moyes for 10 months, he obviously had a really short tenure with the club. I think we finished 7th that season. We actually finished 6th last season. We did finish 6th last season and finished around 32 points behind Manchester City. Yeah. We did finish 32 points behind Manchester City. Yeah. Yeah, so, this, like I mentioned, the other week, you got Rio Ferdinand coming out, who was a former Man United player, and, he said, Solskjaer needs more time at the club. He says Man United would be naive to sack him. Giggs came out recently and said, he needs more time at the football club. Gary Neville, he's putting the blame on the board. He still thinks, Solskjaer should be given more time at Manchester United. So this is what obviously, he believes. Well, it is his perception on it. Like I mentioned recently, Solskjaer, actually met up with Gary Neville, and Solskjaer's also defending the club's current structure. So basically, Solskjaer feels as though that we don't really need a new director of football. Don't forget, for the majority of the summer, we was in search for a director of football, and obviously, there was quite a few former Manchester United players linked with the roles at the football club, but we didn't get that director of football in. And I did say that's one of the structural changes, that we do need at the football club, is getting a new director of football in. Obviously, we do know that, recently there's been a lot of speculation about Edwin van der Sar. He's a former Man United goalkeeper, served 6 years with the club, but I think Van der Sar did pinpoint out at some point in his future, he would, be interested in making a return to the club, and I think, Edwin van der Sar, would be the right candidate, to come and oversee our transfer business, because he's got that experience, and, he knows the traditions of the football club, so I think, he definitely, would be the right candidate, but he's obviously at Ajax now. He's Edwin van der Sar, he's chief executive with Ajax, as you all know, but Solskjaer's happy, with the club's current structure, and yeah, and like I mentioned, regardless of who our manager is, no one can invoke, Alex Ferguson's legacy, at the football club. Solskjaer definitely can't invoke Ferguson's legacy at Manchester United. Like I mentioned, so we can also take that into account. Obviously, Ferguson had 20 odd years of success, at Man United, and that, Ferguson did develop a lot of young players. He also, bossed the transfer markets. He controlled the transfer policies. He controlled a lot of the contracts. Take into account, Ferguson, didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United. When we recommended him in from Aberdeen back in 1984, 1985, he didn't win out in his first 4 years. But obviously, like I mentioned early on in the video, and what I've mentioned on my other videos, back in the old generation, managers did get the time, that they would have liked. But we'll never be the team that we was under Ferguson. But we had a great team under Ferguson, and I said, I'm hopeful that this team now at this day and age can try and replicate what the team, what the team accomplished under Ferguson. But obviously, we know it's not going to happen. He's actually still a couple of players here from the Ferguson era. But like I mentioned, now we haven't been in under the Ferguson era for just over 6 years. Like I mentioned, this is obviously now a different era, with different players and, different groups, of course, that we are building. But like I mentioned, due to our inconsistency, not all the blame, stems from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but definitely, some of the blame stems from him, because, his tactics are also very questionable, and I will admit, we are tactically inept, but, we need to start playing, we need to start playing with some attacking intent, we need to start showing some creativeness, we need to start scoring goals, we need to start being clinical, we need to be more clinical in front of goal, and that also, was a problem last season. We didn't seem to have that clinical element, and we only managed 53 goals in the Premier League, last season. So, that was, really, really bad. I think in the last 2 games, we've actually, have we failed to register a single shot on target? Obviously we do know that we have got a massive game tomorrow against Liverpool. Like I did mention to you guys on my recent video, on my other videos I've been doing over the course of, what I did early on in the week, and that, I just don't think Man United have got any chances of salvaging anything from Liverpool. I have got a lot of negativity, going into this game. Like I mentioned earlier on in the video, this game, if Liverpool win, it won't show that Solskjaer will be sacked. It says he could be sacked and that, but this is actually a game, we do expect to lose, because obviously, Liverpool, have enjoyed a great start to the season. They've won 8 games out of 8. They're sitting 8 points clear in front of Man City. They're sitting 15 points in front of Man United, Liverpool, and Liverpool are obviously, looking to equal, Man City's record. They're looking to equal Manchester City's, Premier League record of 18 wins on the bounce. But, like I mentioned, Liverpool, are strides ahead of us at the moment, and they are strides ahead of us at the moment. But taking into account, Manchester United and Liverpool, is still a very, very big game. It's the biggest game in English football because they are the two most successful sides in England, historically in that. Liverpool are obviously aware of their expectations this season. Obviously, it will be to win the Premier League because Liverpool have never won the Premier League. They haven't won it all in all, for 3 decades. But like I mentioned, Jurgen Klopp, analysing him after his first 29 games, I think that his record, was as bad or worse than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So Klopp, struggled to settle in at the first, but obviously now he's doing a really, really good job. He hasn't won a lot of major honours, like I mentioned. I think he's won 2 with Liverpool. He's before he was at Liverpool, I think he won a couple at Borussia Dortmund. But Klopp has failed to win at Old Trafford. He hasn't won at Old Trafford as yet. He hasn't beaten Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as yet. Take that into account. And like I mentioned, Liverpool's record at Old Trafford is really, really bad. They've only won twice there at Old Trafford in the last 10 years. In the Premier League, that is. The last time they did beat us, obviously, was 3-0 back in 2014 under the David Moyes Moreira and that. But like I mentioned, when Liverpool lost the likes of Luis Suarez and Philippe Coutinho, I thought, a lot of people thought, including me, that Liverpool, would have crumbled, but they didn't. And, to be fair to them, they did really good investment, did Liverpool. They were very sensible with their recruitment. They didn't overpay for players, like Man United do. So they are comparison in that aspect. But, they didn't do any business during the summer. But obviously in the previous couple of windows before the summer, they did really, really well. They got a good goalkeeper in. They addressed the defensive deficiencies with the signing of Virgil van Dijk, who they paid £75 million for. Obviously, they've got 2 fantastic fullbacks in Trent Alexander-Arnold and, Andrew Robinson. They've got a lot of good midfielders as well. Liverpool have also had some injury problems. Nowhere near to the extent of how many injuries we've got. We're without so many key players. I think for the game tomorrow. But Liverpool have had Salah injured. I don't think it's 100% sure he will play, but I think he will be. I think Allinson definitely will be back for them. Liverpool have obviously got Joe Matip out of injury. He was. I think he's back in training now. Well, earlier on this week, I think he got confirmed he's back in training. And also too, they've got Nathaniel Klein out of injury. He obviously won't be playing because he's out until January with I can't remember the injury he's got, but he's definitely out till January. He's actually injury prone, is Nathaniel Klein, and they've got Shaqiri out with injury and that. But I'm really, really looking forward to the game, like I mentioned. Really, really looking forward to the game and that. We don't. Solskjaer has admitted, he will give us, an update on the team news, more tomorrow. So he will make a decision on his starting 11 tomorrow and that because, obviously we've got a lot of injuries and that. Solskjaer also revealed that he's unsure if Wan-Bissaka, Jesse Lingard and Anthony Martial, will be involved because obviously they've all been out of injury. Well, Wan-Bissaka's been out with illness, hasn't he? He's been out with tonsillitis, so that means Wan-Bissaka has missed the last 2 to 3 games for Man United. He's missed the last 2 league games and that. And a lot of people believe that Wan-Bissaka has been our most consistent signing. But yeah, I will definitely agree on that aspect. Lingard's been out of a hamstring problem, but I think he's another player that needs to step up to the plate because he hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected. Anthony Martial, he's another player, that really needs to step up to the plate. Sorry, no, what am I on about? No, it's Jesse Lingard that needs to step up to the plate. Sorry, my mistake. Martial has actually been injured for quite some time and that, Martial's been out with a thigh injury. He hasn't played since the 2-1 home defeat to Cardiff, and it was actually looking very, very likely that Martial and also Luke Shaw were going to be fit to play in this game tomorrow. But I think actually now there's been a change of scenery. I think we'll get more news regarding Martial and Lingard and Bisaki tomorrow. And that Solsjaker will give us more of an update. But hopefully Martial can play, because Martial did enjoy a great start to the season. To be fair, before he sustained that injury. And like I mentioned, Martial has scored over 50 goals there now for the football club. He's now into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. And like I mentioned, we've got a few, attackers and that can play in that number 9. You've got Martial that can play in that number 9. You've got Rashford that can play in that number 9. You've got Greenwood as well that can play in that number 9. But for me, Martial is more effective, playing in that central position than number 9 and that. And they are. That trio are obviously compatible in that aspect, because they can play in the same positions, but Martial's miles better centrally, even though he actually predominantly plays out wide on the left. But yeah, I think Martial, will succeed at Manchester United. I can assure that. He hasn't yet emulated that level. But if he can avoid sustaining any more injuries when he does recover from this current injury, he can score quite a lot of goals for us this season without a shadow of a doubt. But I'm hopeful, he can be involved tomorrow, but I think he's a huge doubt. And like I mentioned with Luke Shaw, Luke Shaw's obviously, a lot of people, a lot of people talk about him being injury prone, and I will agree on that aspect. Luke Shaw is very injury prone. I won't put him not to the same extent as, Eric Bailly, because Eric Bailly has sustained a lot more injuries in that, and he's more injury prone. But prior to Luke Shaw's injuries and prior, to his bad spell he had under Mourinho, he's done well for the football club, and obviously now he is our first choice left back. So we've got quite a few imperative players out. It's been definitely assured that David De Gea and Paul Pogba, will be missing the game. Like I gave you the news about David De Gea yesterday. The good news is that came out about it, that the injury is not as severe as we first thought, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer confirmed. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still expects him to miss the game tomorrow. So David De Gea, it's looking very probable he will be missing his first Premier League game for Man United in almost 7 years. So obviously, due to the injury of David De Gea, we're going to have to obviously put Romero in goal, because obviously Romero is our second choice goalkeeper and that. But yeah, so David De Gea has got a leg injury. I think it's a leg injury. He sustained the injury whilst on, international duty with Spain. Obviously on Tuesday evening, which was early on this week, he came off injured in the second half. The first, like I mentioned, the extent of the injury was unknown, but it has now been revealed it's not as serious as we thought. But David De Gea, like I mentioned, I think, overall is the best goalkeeper in the world, because, De Gea's been at Man United now around, 8 years. He's now into his 9th season at Manchester United. I think he's had a good career with the club. I can mention that, he's been pretty poor for the last 9 to 10 months, but I think prior to that he's had a good career. So analysing it, he's had 7.5 good years out of the 8 years he has been here, and De Gea's not far away from making 400 appearances for the club in all competitions, that is. But he's going to be a big miss. We've only got 2 goalkeepers that are backups to De Gea. And that's obviously Romero and Lee Grant. I think we got Lee Grant from Stoke last summer. Obviously the other 2 goalkeepers loaned out. Dean Enton's on loan with Sheffield United. Obviously Joe Pereira's on loan in Scotland with Hearts. But yeah, I'm disappointed that David De Gea's out. With Paul Pogba, he's missed a lot of games this season due to his ongoing foot injury, that's been surrounding the player for, a number of weeks. And I think, Pogba's missed 5 of the last 7 games, due to injury. It's due to the recurrence of the foot injury. He initially sustained the injury back in the 1-1 draw with Southampton earlier on in the season. Again, Paul Pogba, when he regains full fitness, he's another player that does need to step up to the plate, because he's mainly enjoyed a difficult time at Man United, since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016, and that, he hasn't replicated at Manchester United, what he did with Juventus. And I do believe, again, Paul Pogba is one of the players, that will definitely move on. He will definitely move on in January or next summer. He won't spend the entirety of his career with Man United. I think he feels unsettled at the football club, and I just don't think he's happy at the football club, to be quite honest with you. like I mentioned, a player of his calibre, wants to be in Champions League football, and he wants to be, playing amongst better players and that, and he isn't really getting this at Man United. And for the entirety of the summer, his preference was a move to Real Madrid, and I think he'll try and make the move to Madrid in January, because more than likely Real Madrid, will, reignite their interest there without a shadow of a doubt. There was a lot of talks the other week about, us possibly, renewing Paul Pogba's contract. Reportedly, Paul Pogba's agent Mini Raiola and the player himself, were both demanding 600 grand a week, and that 600 grand a week obviously equates to around 30 million pounds a year. And I can't see, Man United, willing to meet his wage demands, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But we have had a few negotiations with Paul Pogba's agent, Raiola, obviously, to discuss his future and to possibly, extend his contract. Paul Pogba's still got 2 years left on his current deal at the moment, with an option to extend it by a further year. And Paul Pogba, of course, is on around 290 grand a week on his current deal. So in that aspect, he is one of the highest paid players in the football club as it stands now. But I think he'll go to Real Madrid. I said the main factor reason why Paul Pogba didn't make the move to Real Madrid, during the summer, is because the substantial amount we put on him. Because don't forget, we wanted around 180 million. Obviously, Real Madrid were unwilling to pay that, because Real Madrid did good recruitment during the summer. They spent a substantial amount, but they did good recruitment. They spent around £300 million on 5 players. I think they did manage to axe some players, so they did, generate some of the money back. But yeah, I still believe Paul Pogba wants to go to Madrid. I know other teams went in for him during the summer, but the main architect was Real Madrid. There was talks about him possibly making a return back to Turin and that. But yeah, Paul Pogba in the games he has played in this season, again, I think, he has been below par, but you can tell the difference when Pogba's in that midfield and when he's, not in that midfield, without a shadow of a doubt, because, we have seen Paul Pogba at his best, don't get me wrong. We mainly saw him at his best when, Solsjaker first came in as, the interim manager. Paul Pogba's mainly at his best, when he's 3'd up and that. But yeah, he's not going to be playing him in this game. Solskjaer recently said it was okay for Pogba to also meet Zinedine Zidane, whilst on holiday. I think they'll be having more negotiations with Zinedine Zidane and Paul Pogba regarding a potential move to Real Madrid. Like I mentioned, you got Diego Dalot. He's sustained quite a few injuries so far this season. Is Diego Dalot. Obviously, he actually has. He's one of our backup options at that full-back position. I think he's played about 2 or 3 games so far this season as Diego Dalot. But it wasn't too long ago he was out of a groin problem, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I would definitely give Diego Dalot more time at the football club. But I think he's out of injury at the moment. We've got Fossil-Mensah still out of injury. He won't be playing in the game. Eric Bay, he's out of an knee injury. He's definitely won't be playing tomorrow because he's a long-term absence. He's been out for quite some time already, and he's out until I think the end of December or the new year. And Eric Bay is very, very injury prone, to be quite honest with you. And I think, taking into account with the injuries that he sustained at Man United, I think it's had a bad effect on his career. And I think, that could maybe consider us selling Eric Bay, this season or, sometime in the future. Not because he's a bad player, just on the amount of injuries he's sustained. Because actually, when Eric Bay is fully fit, he is a really, really good player. He has got great potential. He holds his line really, really well. But if we were to sell him, we'd look to recoup the money at least, that we did pay for him from Villarreal back in 2016, because we paid around £30 million for him from Villarreal. And we have still got, despite the fact that Smalling left, we have still got 6 centre-backs in the team. Well, something like that anywhere. Lindelof's obviously, being out of a back injury, don't forget. He's missed 1 league game, I think, this season, and that was obviously, the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle before the international break. Analysing Lindelof this season, I think he's, mainly done well. I think he's had some, he's had a couple of bad games, but I think prior to that, he's mainly done well. He has blended in alongside Harry Maguire in our backline fantastically well as Victor Lindelof. To be fair to him, he actually, really, really has. Really, really has. But yeah, he should be available for the game. Well, yeah. And yeah, so I do believe we'll definitely will park the bus tomorrow against Liverpool, without a shadow of a doubt. And that, we used to park the bus, against all the top six sides, I think, under the Jose Mourinho era. Solskjaer tomorrow, I do believe it's probably very probable, he will go with a 4-2-3-1 formation. I did say that's a formation that Solskjaer will go with on a regular basis this season. I think he'll also go with a 4-3-3. He's actually gone with a 4-3-3 quite a few times, but I think he'll just go more, with a 4-2-3-1 formation. But I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. I'm actually going to watch it and that. But like I do keep mentioning, reflect on the amount of money that's been spent at Manchester United and reflect on the size and the potential of this club. Like I do keep mentioning, we should be much more of a commanding position, than winning now. Because look at the money. Look at the money that's being spent at the football club. Look at the money that's being spent at the football club. I think it's around, £800 million that's been spent at Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years in all the managerial eras since the Alex Ferguson era. So that's just under £1 billion, and that's not taking into account, what was spent under Alex Ferguson. If you want to take into account what was spent under Ferguson, obviously it's way over the £1 billion that the football club have spent. Like I mentioned, we've also got players on big contracts at the football club. You've got Rashford on nearly 300 grand a week. And I think he's on 300 grand a week, and he's a player that really needs to step up to the plate. I know he's sustained quite a few injuries, towards the back end of last season. I know he was injured not too long ago with a groin problem, but he needs to step up to the plate, does Rashford. A lot of people, Man United fans, believe, that Rashford is overrated. I probably will agree on that aspect at this moment of what I've seen of him. But he needs more time. He's still a long-term solution in my opinion. He is only 21. He is nearly 22 years of age. But he's enjoyed a difficult time at Man United this season, mainly, in comparison to his time when he first broke into the senior squad, Marcus Rashford and that. But yeah, he's on a substantial amount. You've got Martial on 200 grand a week. You've got Lingard on just over 100 grand a week. You've got Pogba on 290 grand a week. You've got Harry Maguire on 200 grand a week. We've got David De Gea on 375 grand a week. He's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, as I think you all know. We have got massive big players on big contracts at Manchester United, and like I mentioned, we have, got a list of managers on our agenda anywhere, who could replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. We have got a list of managers on our current agenda. Obviously our primary candidate is Max Allegri. Obviously there has been a hell of a lot of, speculation about Max Allegri, coming in, I think he's actually indicated out, that he's interested in taking the mantle on at Manchester United. I think he's demanded quite a few things though. If he is to be recommended in as Man United's new boss, I think Max Allegri wants to be he wants to recommend Mario Mandzukic and Emre Can to the football club who are currently playing for Juventus at the moment. He also wants to recommend Patrice Evering as one of his coaching staff. One of his coaching staff. Obviously, Everett is a former Man United player, and he did say not too long ago that he wants to be. He'll take over if he is to be assured the job within the next few weeks. So if Max Allegri is to come into the football club, then he will be our 5th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. And do you think he would be the right candidate for Man United? Max Allegri has obviously been recently learning English in preparation for his potential move. He hasn't been managerless for long. He's only been managerless since the end of last season when he, resigned as Juventus manager. He obviously served around 5 years with Juventus, did Max Allegri. Won quite a lot of silverware. Also led Juventus to 2 Champions League finals. So he's the likely candidate, to come in to replace Solskjaer. I know there's obviously been other managers that have been mentioned as well. Pochettino, could we possibly reignite our interest in him? Because don't forget, the club went in for Pochettino, before actually, Solskjaer got recommended in, if you do remember rightly. Obviously there has been talks of Laurent Blanc quite recently, Brendan Rodgers also got mentioned, but the likely one is definitely now Max Allegri if the club do decide, to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But, Ed Woodward's still actually, he's still insisting that he's backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 100%, even though we've enjoyed a really, really bad start to the season. And like I did mention, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United. Like I mentioned, I only think, some of our young upcoming players, will become a success. I've got some element of concerns about certain young upcoming players. Like recent reports did indicate out that we are considering loaning a few young upcoming players out in January. So I think it mentioned Chong, Jimmy Garner, and Angel Gomez. They're the three youngs we could consider loaning out in January. But I definitely can say that, Mason Greenwood will become a success at the football club. I definitely can assure that. I also think Alex Tuanzebe, will become a success at the football club. Without a shadow of a doubt. But like I mentioned to you, there's more players that need to go. Definitely. I think Jones isn't good enough anymore for the club. Matic is definitely not good enough. I think any of our midfield options at the moment are better options than Matic. I definitely think Ashley Young's a problematic player. He's been a long servant here anyway. Young's past his sell-by date. Look how old he is now. He's 34 years of age. So these still players, in my opinion, that definitely do need to leave the football club. But we will obviously sort more of that out in January. And that's mainly everything to update you with. So like I mentioned, Solskjaer has come out and he said he would consider, resigning, if this bad run of form does continue to persist and nothing, does turn around. So that means it'd prevent him from getting the sack, obviously, if he did resign and that. But I am, really looking forward to the game tomorrow, like I did mention. You saw my score prediction I did the other week for the game. I think it will be 3-1 to Liverpool, to be quite honest with you. So I'm going into this game with a lot of negativity, especially with the injuries we've got. But with the injuries we've got anywhere, obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to have to make alterations in the squad without a shadow of a doubt. But so it'd be interesting to see, what Solskjaer does tomorrow. It'd be interesting to see, how he approaches this game, Solskjaer. But yeah. So anyway, guys, show me comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching, guys.